Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. I am Gerry. With me, I've got Max and Terry. We are reunited. It's been a while. So we're going to talk a little squad assessment. We were trying to figure out, I know me and Toffee Blues John were trying to figure out what segments to do. And we were talking about, well, should we talk about our strengths? Should we talk about transfers? Should we talk about our weaknesses? And it was like, well, it all falls into squad assessment, doesn't it? To really kind of look at what we have post-window, right? So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to go through all the different positions and kind of assess whether or not it's a weak spot, a strength, or if it's just kind of meh. And I think you're going to see that, a lot of meh. Yeah, which is fine. I'm okay with meh. So, Terry, how you feeling about our keeper depth? Pickford, Losel, and I guess I got to throw Steck in there.
I mean, it's as good as it's ever going to be, isn't it? I mean, I can't see, unless we're in the Champions League, I couldn't see a case where you have two, potential first choice keepers. It's usually one established fit. In fact, even most of the Champions League clubs in this league don't have that. I think Man United are the only ones who've got two quality keepers, and everyone else has got like a established number one with like a decent number two. And I think that's what we've gone out and done. I think we realised last season that Stecklenburg isn't really a very good option to come in. If Pickford goes down with like an injury or something like that, or gets a red card for a moment of madness, you wouldn't want Stecklenburg starting any games. Lossell or Lezel, or however you say it, he's not as good as Pickford, but he's better than Stecklenburg. So it was an upgrade in that position. So I'm pretty happy.
I also am good with this depth. I thought Losel was a nice signing to get a backup keep on the free.
Yeah,
I'm good with that. Max, you good with it?
Yeah, I'm good with it. Like, just to cover the entire assessment, I similar to you, Gerry. I endorse Pep Guardiola that you need to have two really good players to keep competition healthy in each position. But I just feel like it's a huge pain in the backside that your utility player who you just bring in gets injured straight in pre-season. Like, you bring in Fabian Delph, a player that Pep Guardiola has utilised several times, and it's a good example of that, having a player of higher enough quality to challenge in more than one position, and he's the one that's on the sideline straight away. But I don't think we haven't got a good enough squad to crack the top six just yet. I think we'll have to wait till January or maybe even the summer after, but we are on the right track.
Max,
get us into right.
Skipping to the end there. He didn't. You want to speak about the keepers, not the
No,
end.
I know. Apologies. I have literally got like the entire squad listed down in front of me. I know you've got one better than that. You've got like an actual updated document, but I don't know. I just don't think it's good enough, and I feel like it's got to be known.
So, just a reminder, Max does not take normal questions. He answers and says what he needs to say. All right. No, man. No, actually, that's the kind of thing. Like that's a pretty solid introductory statement, Max. Get us into right back though. Coleman, Sidibe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which I don't think I am, and I think you have to throw Holdgate as part of our depth there as well.
I'm Martina.
Did you say Kyle Martino?
No, but he's in there. I was.
Yeah, I've got the four horsemen of the apocalypse: Morales, Martina, Balassi, and Nias written on the side because I can't, man.
You got to include them. You got to include them.
No way.
But bringing in Sidibe made me it lifted me spirits and outlook on the entire transfer window. To be honest, maybe it was just Everton absolutely hitting the nail on the head with the announcement of the transfers, playing into the fact that we want to build on this some sort of ambition where he said I became a champion with Monaco, I conquered the world with my country, and I like Everton's ambition. Although he is only on a season-long loan, finally we've got that cover at right back, which was much needed, against Palace. Although Coleman was pressing high and he was having some success earlier on in the game, his impact waned as the game went on, which is to be expected. So I think you go back to last season, you see, I think Baines even started that first games against Wolves, and then Dean, when called upon, and even sets the bar and makes the place his own. I wouldn't be surprised to see that going forward. Maybe not as successfully as Dean, but I'd just like to reinforce it. I'm quite happy at right back.
Yeah, I'm with you. And right now, Coleman was all right. I actually saw him play a really nice ball across in the first half, and I was like, "Whoa, that was a decent service." Because with Coleman last year, I got to the point where I was like, "Come on, man, just get it anywhere near a player, dude, please." But I thought he looked good, and he took on Zaha man to man late in the game, and he looked solid. Sidibe, what I like about Sidibe is the idea of somebody to share the load. Like in Lord of the Rings, share the load. All right, and that right there, that's what I think he's gonna do. So, and I think it's cool because he had a pretty bad injury. So let's not have him play every game as soon as he comes into the team. That would be great. Gradually build him in. Terry, you good at right back?
Yeah, I was. I said a few times last season that we need a right back Luca Dean type signing to come in. Now Sidibe's probably not quite the same as that, because let's be honest, Coleman is not in the position that Baines was in last summer, where he's a lot older and he's winding down and he's about ready to be a number 2 choice. Don't think Coleman's quite at that point, but John Joe Kenny, as highly thought of as he is by the club and by a lot of Everton fans, he is very much a youth player who's understudying a senior player. He's not real competition in the strict sense of the word. He may come back and be that because he's had a year on loan in the Bundesliga, but I think Sidibe, who's obviously got a good pedigree, he's won the World Cup, he's played in Monaco and what have you. He's actual competition. He's a viable threat. If Coleman has a spell of bad games or makes some game-costing mistakes, and Sidibe comes in, he might not get the shirt back the same way Baines did from Dean. So it's nice to have an actual, some actual competition in that spot. Coleman's shirt, obviously at the minute, he's the new captain, but he's less safe than he's ever been now since he's been the right back at the club, because this is the strongest competition he's had.
I think he gets that. I think that's why we saw such a strong performance from him. But at the same time, I don't know if what I just said is fair to Coleman, because he's a strong character. I feel like he came into this season, he would have come out just playing guts out anyway. Maybe that's the more fair statement, and maybe the reason he wasn't given everything he could last season because he's just getting older and he can't go game in, game out for that long a stretch anymore. But the idea of having both those guys, I feel great. And if for some reason neither one is able to play, Holgate is a solid third option. All right, so I feel good at right back as well. Keeper and right back. Let's go to left back. Terry, Luca Dean, Leighton Baines. I guess you got to throw young Gibson in there as a possible third choice if you need to.
He's
right?
centre half.
I know that's his best position, but he still plays left, correct?
Much in the same way Holgate.
Exactly.
Like sort of defender, in times of emergency. But I think left,
because we don't have any other left back that would be in between those two, right?
Yeah, but when you're not in Europe, I don't think you need more than 2 players in each position, because let's be honest, you're going to be playing mostly one game a week, the odd midweek game in December and whatnot. Same again at left back as last season. We've got the Premier League's best left back and the Premier League's former best left back as his cover. This one's a little bit more clear cut in first choice and second choice than some other positions, but we're pretty well stacked in that position, because Baines, if Luca Dean goes down with an injury and you see Leighton Baines coming off the bench, I'm not worried at all. I'm just like,
I'm not either.
I'd definitely prefer Dean because of the time in the career of both players, and I think he's a better player now, but not to worry about with Leighton Baines. That's why he's been given the contract extension that he was. It's a solid player to have in that sort of role where he can come in and be a steady hand if needed.
Yeah, I always go at least 3 deep on these positions, guys. Always, unless it's something where we don't. Like, so I don't know any other player that's on our roster, though, that would be after Baines. And I always worry about the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Every time. Like, even if typically you don't use them, I always look at it because I feel like we end up seeing some nightmare scenario at least once a year at one of our positions, like every year.
There's like 2 players for each position and like 1 auxiliary player who's plays somewhere else but can come
right there. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Totally. Because we're about to talk about that kind of situation at center back in just a second as well. All right. Yeah. So you feeling all right about left back as well, Max? This stuff is it's all,
isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Cool. Center backs. Michael Keane, Yerry Mina, Mason Holgate. And then there's a gray area. You got to mention Bama. All right. You got to mention Gabamin because he has played some minutes at center back, so he can back up. And you got to mention a couple of the U23s in Gibson and Feeney. To me, when you get past 3 players whose center back is their best position, 3 senior players, that's thin. Max, how are you feeling about center back depth?
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the best balances of that I think I've seen in recent years is when we had Jags, Distan and Stones. It was just like a really good blend and balance to have in terms of your centre back options that all work relatively well in partnerships. I to this day still long for that ball playing centre half to come back into our team, but I was reassured by the performance against Crystal Palace. You know, Yerry Mina really looked solid. That partnership was Keane was there. Didn't seem to be any kind of miscommunications of any sort. And I'd just like to reinforce just how stupid that hashtag free Zuma thing was on Twitter.
Max does not suffer foolishness, everyone. I just want to put that out there. No. I'll be honest though. I genuinely did want to free Zuma.
I did, but at the same time, you know, you just have to cut your losses. That you know, he didn't have the performance of his life against Man United. Actually, quite the opposite. So
it didn't go well. It didn't go well for Kurt.
Yeah. The part I didn't like was free player type, things like hashtag free player X usually follows a player asking to leave and then not allowed to. Zuma didn't actually say he wanted to leave. Might as well have been give us Zuma.
We were told that he said that he wanted to leave, but he didn't put in a transfer request.
Yeah, the best example of that I think I saw was when Kagawa went to Man United and just ended up as being somewhat of a loose part. And when Dortmund kind of launched the campaign to get him back and did successfully. I think they even launched the video with him like escaping a jail or something like that. So that was one of the only times I'll actually say that was well done.
Really quick, I need to mention Delph. If Delph's healthy, that is possible left back depth. That's something I should have mentioned. Just dawned on me. He would be our third left back rather than Young Gibson probably. So that is solid depth and someone who has experience at a senior club doing that. So I should have mentioned that earlier. And I didn't because I forgot to write it down. Hey. So anyway, by the way, it just occurred to me for the people who are watching, for people who are listening, you can't see this, but Terry looks as though he's the representative from heaven. Max looks as though he has literally emerged from darkness. So just
it's like cinematography from The Godfather. It's a heavy use of shadow, Gerry. You should know this.
Yeah, nice. It's just great though. It's like I get commentary from both sides. We're always concerned about injuries, especially thinking about Yerry Mina. We're worried about that and the fact that we're a bit thin at the position. We're nervous about that. I think we agree center back depth is one of our weaknesses as a squad. Okay?
The thing is, though, that this sort of thin, area of the squad is not specific to us. Obviously, we're a little bit more nervous because one of our 2 senior centre-backs got injured a lot last year. If say Yerry Mina was on loan and we couldn't get him back and it was just Zuma and Keane who were here, you wouldn't be as worried because Zuma didn't get injured last season, and neither did Keane. Not very. If they did, it wasn't any that I remember. It's just because Mina did a lot, so you're thinking, oh, it's very, is it likely that he's going to go again? But if you look around the Premier League, other clubs are actually rolling really light in some positions. Like Liverpool are going to sell Dejan Lovren. It came out today. That would leave them in the exact position we are with 3 centre backs and a midfielder who can sort of fill in. Like they've got Fabinho, we've got Gbamin. Man United are the same, but not with centre backs. They've got about 1 million centre backs, but up front they've got 2 players. As their centre forward, they've got Martial and Rashford. I mean, we suppose we can count Sanchez, but they don't, so why should we? If they get an injury to one of their centre forwards, they literally got one centre forward, and then they're starting to draft players in from other positions to fill it. It's not specific to Everton. A lot of clubs now seem to be, rolling with a light area of the squad, and the only problem we've got is one of our 2 senior ones is not, sort of nailed on to be fit long term. But if I think some other clubs might, if they're unlucky, might have some problems this year, because Liverpool, who were brought up then, they've also not got any senior cover at fullback either, which we have.
True.
They've got like 5 senior defenders in the whole squad, and the rest are kids.
But to the credit, and I suppose makes sense as we're moving on to the midfielders, I think they've picked their squad, their utility players exceptionally well. In the likes of Xherdan Shaqiri, James Milner, it's paid dividends with them winning the Champions League. Like those type of players, you contrast it to us, where we brought Delphin straight away on the shelf. Everton look, I suppose, but we're not too bad in midfield, are we?
Yeah, I suppose that's a good comparison, because they've got 5 senior defenders, but they've also got midfielders who can cover. We're the same. We've got a defensive mid who can play centre back in Gbamin. They've got Milner, we've got Delph, who can cover at both full back and whatnot. So yeah, I suppose it's not as risky as people think. You've just got to be lucky, and that means that we're not going to be, because let's be honest, it's Everton.
All right. So, by the way, for people listening, if you're hearing a little bit of, I guess, sound imperfection, it sounds like Terry and Max are cyborgs. They are not. It is, I am at the beach and I don't have the best connection. So, yeah, apologies for that. Now that Terry has convinced us all that we're fine at center back, yeah, and I honestly, it's something I didn't really realize, by the way, that other squads were doing that, going light. So, anyway, let's go center mid, talk about center mids. Andre Gomez, and this is not putting them into separate categories. This is literally just the center mids, okay? Gomez, Schneiderlin, Gbamin, Delph, Davies. Any others right now that could possibly play? Beningame technically is part of the depth. Technically, he is technically.
I mean,
technically.
Depending on your formation, Sigurdsson, I'd count him as one of the midfielders.
And that's the thing. Like that's center, but only because Sigurdsson is like a second striker so often. You know what I mean? Like the way he, as far forward as he ends up getting. I don't know, but that's the problem with labeling these. But Terry, to be fair, I did say center mids. So just know I've got a different category, as in like you're right. But center attacking mids, I've got those in a different category. So that's the only one I labeled separately. So as far as those two, because we like to play that 4-2-3-1. The players that could play one of those two, Gomez, Delph, both hurt. Schneiderlin red carded. Gbamin and Davies, and if you count Beningame, that's not the best situation to be in.
Yep, we're in the defense straight away, aren't we? Really.
And that already we have to all agree that probably makes it a little bit of a light spot for us. No.
No, I don't particularly agree. I think how often throughout the season are you going to have 3 absentees all at the same time? You got 2 injuries, 1 suspension, all in the one position. Technically, that's not something that'll happen a lot. I hope not. Plus, it's only compounded by the fact that it's happened on the first game. If this happens in like November or February when Gbamin is settled, you won't be as worried. It's only now because you can only half count Gbamin because he's new to the league and he's had a pretty ropey first game. I think we're fine there personally. I think this is an extreme scenario we're in with 3 players missing and one who's just arrived at the club. We won't be like that at any other point in the season, I hope.
So, see, I say this because we weren't able to get Decore, and the idea there is if we had a Decore type of player, then this particular situation, it's like, I don't know, I don't clench my butt cheeks as much. You know what I mean?
I wasn't too fussed on missing out on Decore. It's just the injuries you're on.
I mean, that type of player is what
Andre Gomez's injury is the thing that just kind of got me worried now, because we saw how we kind of capitulated in that second half once he went off injured, and there was that, Schneiderlin went off and there was that big gap to fill in the field, and just no one could do it adequately. We don't genuinely tend to be productive with an attacking output from that area of the pitch, and it seemed like we're going to ride that 4-2-3-1 till the end of time. I feel like we need to move away from it and become something else, but time will tell.
Well, we became a little something different when we got the red card. We became like a 4-4-1. Just, do you notice that? And I was just like, well, this is weird, but it seemed like that's what needed to happen, and we still looked strong. Not strong to the point of scoring goals, but still okay.
Ironically, I think Gomez is the most irreplaceable player in the whole squad. Like, although we've got a lot of centre midfielders, other players in the squad, they've got like-for-like players who come in. We've got other midfielders who could come in for Gomez, but how many other players have we got who will run the game like him? He's the heart of the team. Might not always get the assists or the goals, but the whole team is based around his passing. So let me put it this way as well, with the people are worried about the midfield scenario. Say Idrissa Gueye hadn't left and we didn't get Gbamin. If we were going into Watford with Gueye, Davies and Sigurdsson, would you be worried? I wouldn't. Because you know what you're going to get, whereas we're only really worried about the game because we've seen Gbamin come in and not really, take off. Not, we've covered that in the previous segment, not really his fault. But I think the worries have come from the fact that Gbamin might not be ready. If it was Gueye, Davies and Sigurdsson, you'd be like, okay, so we're missing Gomez, but Davies will have to play. It's just the unknown quantity of Gbamin at this stage, which is the problem. It's not.
And Terry, you did say don't compare Gbamin to Gueye, and that they're different players, and that we can't, because that doesn't help the fella, right?
It's just the 3 missing players are compounded by the fact that one of the remaining midfielders is a bit of an unknown quantity about whether he's going to be able to do it in this early stage. If we still had a familiar centre midfielder, say Gbamin got sent off, not Schneiderlin, you wouldn't feel as bad. It's just the fact that of the 2 midfielders we've got left for this game, one of them, it's come too soon for him. It's I think, bodies wise, and we're fine in centre midfield. It's just the one player we could have done with not starting is having to start, or might have to start.
And I think a lot of us wouldn't want to say let's start Davies either, right?
In an ideal,
that wouldn't be our preference at this time yet. Anyway, I think we'd be okay if he was, because Davies was talking about how he wants to start a little bit more and play farther up. So I think lately he's been kind of going in for Sigurdsson and dropping back more and kind of playing not really as that second striker, but as more of a center mid. But I don't know. I would still be a little bit concerned if that was our 3, but Sigurdsson and Idrissa Gueye, I would feel more comfortable. You're right, Terry. It is a little bit of inexperience with Gbamin that gets you worried. But it's the kind of inexperience that could take a while.
Yeah.
It could. So, I don't know. I think he's going to be fine. But you just never know as far as development goes, because a lot of it seemed like it was composure. So we'll see. Good talk, guys. All right. So center attacking mid, Sigurdsson, Davies, Iwobi. you have to throw Bernard in there just in case because he may get some minutes there. I'm not going to. Yeah, the four horsemen I'm leaving on the periphery right now, not the wrestlers. So anybody else that could possibly play that kind of center attacking mid role?
I mean, it's
besides. Oh yeah, I said Davies, right? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but it is Sigurdsson's number 10 shirt to lose, isn't it? Really, I think we're at a point now where it's almost as if it's almost like utility attacking players, where there's no cemented position for them on the field. They've just got to go out there and make it their own, really. Because it's been mentioned, since he come to the club that Iwobi can be as used in that second striker role. But it remains to be seen.
Yeah, you missed it, Gerry, but I shook my head when you said Bernard. His whole career, he's played like 12 games there. People were trying so hard to make Bernard a number 10. He isn't. People did this with Pinar. He was class on the left, and because he was class on the left, people wanted him to be a number 10 because he'd do it occasionally for his national team, South Africa. Sorry, I think it's a straight fight between Iwobi and Sigurdsson. I think Davies, in a pinch he'll go there, but he's more of a utility, around all the central positions midfielder. But if Sigurdsson gets injured, I don't think you see Davies start. I think Iwobi will come in there, and that was sort of what he's been brought in for, to give competition to both the wingers and Sigurdsson, because whilst the wingers, the wide players like Bernard and Richarlison have got competition already, and Sigurdsson's got none at all. I mean, he needed to sort of tick a couple of boxes with that sign, and needed someone who could really test a few of his established names, because if Iwobi had been fit at the weekend, say we bought him earlier in the summer and he was on the bench, he would have been on promptly for either Sigurdsson or Bernard, because both of them were not up to scratch against Palace.
Yeah, I mentioned, only reason I mentioned Bernard there is I saw some people on Twitter were saying that he was actually getting some training at that position, during practice. Yeah, and the idea of just giving him some extra added minutes there. Yeah, so I put him in there as like the fourth option. I don't think he's going to get a lot of minutes there. Our wings, all right? Basically, they're the same players except for one has Walcott, all right? We have basically the exact same options on either wing, and I don't really think that Bernard's going to get many minutes on the right wing or right forward, but I've thrown him in there as a possibility. But on the right, Richarlison, Walcott, Iwobi, Bernard, and on the left, Bernard, Richarlison, Iwobi. Yeah, and that's all pretty. And I just don't see Walcott playing much on the left. Yeah, and I don't see Balassi or Morales getting any time. So, but technically,
an issue there is all right-footed players.
Yep, and that's what Terry brought up last time about how we were wanting to get a left-footed, winger in, and we didn't. So, yeah. Oh well. What do you do there? But there are a lot of different types of players there, right? A lot of them, like Bernard's not like any of the other players really. He's more of a small, skilled player, not really going to get the goals from him, which having Iwobi and being able to plug Iwobi in there if we need a goal late may be a good idea, but I think he's going to be starting a decent amount of games moving forward once he actually gets the time. Gosh, our signal's awful here, guys. Sorry, I keep losing you guys and going away. It's really distracting. So we feel good about our wing depth because we need to move on and get this video done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I've totally lost Terry's picture completely, by the way. So center forwards, DCL, Moise Keane, Richarlison, Cenk Tosun. Anybody else that could possibly plug in there? Maybe Iwobi if he had to. I don't know. Not really.
No.
Oh, is Nias off, by the way? Turkey?
I hope so.
I have no idea. I mean,
the four horsemen will all be gone. Morales, Balassi, Nias, and Martina. Because let's be honest, they've been given squad numbers that are just indicative of their standing in the squad. They've been given high, 20s, 30s early 30s numbers.
Mm-hmm.
3 of them are out of contract next year. They'll be getting the old Ashley Williams loan, like a few others got, where they'll go and not come back. Balassi probably, hopefully he's sold. It's the players that Gerry mentioned really as the options. Let's be honest, you're not going to see Nias playing an Everton shirt.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much the entire squad depth, though. That's all of it. So gone through all of it. I think I have some issues with center back and center mid feeling a little thin for me. I feel okay about the most of it, but I don't like the fact we don't have a left-footed winger like at all. That's where I'm feeling. You guys, I know Terry, you have less concerns about kind of being a little thin at a couple of those. And Max, I don't really know what you're thinking. I think you're probably in between me and Terry.
Yeah, I suppose. As I just reinforce, I still don't quite think it's good enough yet to crack that top 6, but we got years ahead.
So I guess that's it for our squad assessment. Just a shade under a decade too. Wow. Anyway, this is the last video in our segment. If you want to pop on over to the podcast, you can check out a quiz between these two gents. It's going to be a penalty shootout quiz with lots of I don't know how they're going to do because it seems hard to me, but we'll see. If you want, so if you've been digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We sincerely appreciate it. If you want more Terry, Liverpool Echo fan Gerry, check him out there. That's coming soon. He's about to write the piece soon as he gets off the phone with us. Yeah. So, also, Max has been, he's going to be showing up on various podcasts. I think he's going to be on Echo Podcast soon, so check that out. But also, Toffee Blues website, he's always doing written analysis there. So, keep an eye on their Twitter, guys. They'll tell you where to be. All right. So that's it. Let's go have a quiz. And bye.